I don't think it's a good fashion choice, but I am channeling my inner Andrew Whitworth. Welcome to the Power Rankings episode for the playoffs here on That's Good Sports. Yes, the curse wheel is back. It barely has a winning record this season, which is still better than the Buccaneers. Now, I'll spin this little wheel of doom at the end of the show to see which team gets cursed. Here is the current playoff picture and the playoff schedule for Wild Card Weekend. As you might notice, all of these games are indeed rematches from the regular season. That's the first time that has happened since 2009. So let's rank these teams with shocking accuracy. That's good. Sports. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, especially if you want a better sex life in 2023. What? Yeah, that's right, guys. My New Year's resolution was to help all of your penises. Today's sponsor, Roman, has made it their mission to help the millions of men who deal with erectile dysfunction with prescription ED treatments that are safe, FDA approved, and used by millions of men, and most importantly, effective. They simply work. 52% of men will deal with erectile dysfunction in their life, and if my math is correct, that's more than half. Roman allows you to connect discreetly with the licensed medical provider via an online visit, and you won't even have to go to the pharmacy, as Roman will ship your medication with free 2-day shipping. Meaning fast-acting, stronger erections will be waiting right at your doorsteps. Right now, my link below will save you 20% off, so you can resume 100% of your erection. That's ro.co/thatsgood, linked below for your 20% discount at Roman. All right, number 14, the Dolphins. You got into the playoffs by defeating the Jets, and I think Mike McDaniel thought that entitled him to a night alone with Jets head coach Robert Saleh after the game. Oh, we'd all be so lucky, Mike. The Dolphins simply have not played well over the last 6 games, losing 5 and losing 4 one-score games in a row until you dropped the Jets. Barely. Everything hinges on Tua's health, though, for their game against the Bills this weekend. Tua entered the concussion protocol on December 26th, or as I refer to it, the day after Nickelodeon ended Nathaniel Hackett's career. Tua has yet to be cleared, but could this week. If he's not, McDaniel has not committed to Skylar Thompson or Teddy Two Gloves as his QB. Raheem Mostert broke his thumb on Sunday, in addition to Tyreek Hill suffering an ankle injury that clearly slowed him down. I respect the hell out of you, Miami. I don't like your chances this weekend, and if Tua comes back to the team next year, you better have a top-flight backup who can run that offense. The Buccaneers. We've been giving the Vikings a lot of shit for their negative point differential this season. You're welcome, Tom Brady, because the Buccaneers have a negative 45-point differential on the season. The difference is Minnesota has a winning record. That petty Tom... No, not Tom Petty. Petty-ass Tom Brady played long enough last week to set the single season completion record on Sunday, surpassing himself from last year. Both fake records that took an extra game. Now, I do believe Brady will play long enough to break every record, including Emmitt Smith's rushing record. Brady is so lucky he's in the playoffs the first time he has a losing season in the NFL. Plus, Mike Evans just got hot. I'll never dismiss Brady in the postseason, and they are playing a very volatile Cowboys team. I really hope I'm not talking about the Buccaneers next week. Number 12, I've got the Ravens. The Ravens might have the best defense in the postseason that nobody is talking about. After a rough start to the beginning of the year, the defense has been pretty dominant. Sure, they've played the Broncos, Steelers, Browns, Falcons, and Steelers again, aka some of the lowest scoring offenses in the league, but the last 300-yard passer against them was indeed Trevor Lawrence on November 27th. They've held Joe Burrow under 300 twice this season. They held Josh Allen under 300, and the only QB to truly torch them was Tua in that insane Week 2 game. On top of that, they've only allowed 1,055 rushing yards on the season, second best behind the 49ers. If and it appears to be a big if Lamar Jackson returns, Baltimore will be a dangerous team. The lack of info about Lamar's injury and the progress on that injury is just flat out bizarre. Number 11, I've got Georgia. Someone tweeted that TCU was the Minnesota Vikings of college football, and I think I agree. I think if the Vikings played the national champ Bulldogs 10 times, Minnesota would win exactly half of those games. Justin Jefferson has 5 catches for 53 yards combined in the last 2 outings. All the Giants have to do to keep Minnesota in check is make Jefferson disappear in the passing game. In 3 of the Vikings' 4 losses this season, he's been held to well under 100 yards and no tutties. He really should be offensive MVP this year. He's that important to Minnesota. Number 10, Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are entering the playoffs a little wounded after a tough game against the Titans and a straight-up embarrassing loss to Sam Howell and the Commanders. The main concern for the boys right now is the turnovers. Dak has thrown 15 picks this season, you know that. Leading the NFL, you know that. Despite playing in just 12 games, you know that. He's only had 2 games without picks and completed just 37% of his passes last week. That's concerning. I won't go as far to say this team is better off with Cooper Rush, but it is fair to point out that Dak just hasn't been the same guy since the Cowboys ran out of time in the wildcard game against the 49ers last year. I don't know what to think about the Cowboys other than Micah Parsons needs to have a game on Monday. Number 9, Seahawks. The Seahawks are in the playoffs in part because they nailed their draft class. Yes, the Seahawks. Charles Cross has been holding it down at tackle. Kenneth Walker led all rookies in rushing yards. And Tariq Woolen, the real Jim, allowed the lowest passer rating in the league while tied for the most interceptions with Justin Simmons. Usually it's one or the other as a corner. Unfortunately, none of those guys really made a difference in their 2 losses against the 49ers. And unfortunately, that is their opponent on Saturday. Shout out to Geno Smith, though, for hitting his bonuses this season and making all of his $3.5 million. Number 8, Chargers. The Chargers might be the dumbest team in the playoffs based on what I witnessed last Sunday in Denver. Despite having the 5th seed locked up, Brandon Staley played his starters into the 4th quarter, which ended up risking the health of, just Mike Williams, who now enters a short week with a back contusion, and Nick Bosa got banged up. Sorry, Joey Bosa got so banged up, Nick felt it. The most embarrassing part of it all is that they still lost to the Broncos. The Chargers have already shown they could struggle against the Jags, losing 38-10 back in week 3. And that's before the Jags were actually any good. Go Chargers, go.
Go Chargers, go.
Number 7, the Giants. The New York Football Giants finished 2nd in the NFL in total turnovers with just 16, trailing only Dan Campbell's Lions. How fucking crazy. Giants-Lions, safest with the football this season. Daniel Jones in 16 starts only threw 5 interceptions this year. That's Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady territory. Well, before this season for those two, anyway. Jones kicked his fumbling habit with just 6 this season, losing just 2. Justin Fields fumbled the ball 16 times, but miraculously only lost 2 as well. When this team gets some receivers, when Saquon Barkley isn't tied with Richie James for most receptions at just 57 in a season, those passing touchdowns will follow for Dan Jones. On defense, everything goes through Dexter Lawrence. He leads the team in sacks, QB pressures, and run stops. Kayvon Thibodeau is developing, but Lawrence is sort of like the Chiefs' Chris Jones or the Jets' Quinnen Williams. The difference is he doesn't have elite help behind him at either the linebacking group or secondary levels. New York could easily get a win this weekend, and I like Brian Daboll asserting his dominance over Kevin O'Connell in this matchup. Number 6, Jaguars. Next to the other 2 teams in Florida, you had quite possibly the ugliest entrance into the postseason. Doug Peterson has done wonders, down unders. Although this season has been an anomaly for head coaches with their new teams, 5, Peterson, O'Connell, Daboll, Bowles, and Mike McDaniel all made the dance in their first year with their new team as head coach. That's the most ever. But I don't really like counting Peterson or Bowles since they both had the gig prior and Peterson won a Super Bowl. The Titans' defense, though, rendered that Jaguars' offense nearly useless. The good news, Jacksonville, you get the Chargers, who just gave up again 31 points to the Broncos. They're the only team to allow Denver to score 30 all season. The key, though, for the Jags will be Travis Etienne. The only nice thing Urban Meyer gave him. He won this chart right here. Whatever this fucking chart means, he won it. He won the hell out of it. The Chargers have the 5th worst rushing defense in total yards allowed, and are tied with the Giants for worst in yards per carry at 5.4. The Jags gonna run. Number 5, now it's the Bills. Buffalo all the way this time. The Bills not only knocked out the Patriots, they got great news yesterday as Damar Hamlin returned to Buffalo. We know the Bills' weakness is turnovers, specifically in the red zone. I think we're seeing some growing pains with Ken Dorsey as OC versus Brian Daboll. While Buffalo could have used that bye week more than any team in the AFC, this is a battle-tested group. This season, this team has dealt with Dawson Knox's brother, Luke Knox, passing away, Micah Hyde going down on defense with a bad neck injury, Von Miller tearing his ACL, that weird 3-game away stretch in 12 days due to that first insane blizzard in Buffalo, followed by an even worse blizzard taking many people's lives in Buffalo, and obviously the Damar Hamlin situation. That doesn't guarantee anything for the Bills, and in fact, could be an example of a team that's just completely worn down. Or, it might mean nothing will be too much for this team to handle during a 60-minute football game. Number 4, I've got the Eagles. I know Philly really wanted that bye week, but it felt like Hurts came back to play a bit too early. Hurts posted his worst passing day since week 1 against the Lions. I hope that this week off allows him to get his shoulder right and he returns to form. Number 3, the Chiefs. You have the best offense in the NFL, Kansas City. Nobody's debating that. You have the best quarterback. You have the best head coach. You have a bye week. And I really hope you practice your ring around the rosy celebrations every day. I've got nothing but love, respect, and admiration for everything your organization stands for. It's the classiest unit in the league, and you only deserve good things, Kansas City. Number 2, the Bengals. The Bengals' biggest issue in the playoffs last season was their offensive line and pass pro. They fixed that this offseason, and now, they're right back where they started. Tackle, Lyle Collins on IR, and now questions loom about when Alex Kappa can return from an ankle injury he suffered on Sunday. Joe Burrow was sacked 41 times this season, which was 10 fewer than in 2021. The good news is he was only sacked twice on Sunday by the Ravens, and now we have the 3rd meeting between these two teams. The bad news? Joe Mixon had 27 rushing yards on 11 carries. Cincy will have to win this game on the arm of Joe Burrow, which is obviously fine. But I like Cincy when Mixon and or Samaje Perine are wearing out opposing defensive fronts. The best way to protect Joey is to make those edge and defensive linemen tired from stopping the run. Tough task, though, against the Ravens, who allow just 3.8 yards per carry. You need a big game from Jamar Chase. Which leaves number 1 to the 49ers. Seeing the Bengals at number 2, I'm sure the 49ers are having flashbacks to Super Bowl 23. Brock Purdy will officially be the lowest drafted quarterback to start a playoff game. Congrats, Brock. Purdy versus Geno Smith in the wild card is a storyline not even Nostradamus could have predicted before the season. Maybe Miss Cleo could have, who I think actually just gave us Brock Purdy's football mantra.
Although it is a constant challenge, I will continue. I will not allow them to stop me.
Purdy became just the 3rd quarterback to throw multiple passing touchdowns in his first 5 starts since 1950, joining Dan Marino and Billy Volek. 2 quarterbacks who have almost nothing in common except for never winning a Super Bowl. Sorry, Dolphins fans. The wildest stat of the year, though, is the 49ers' first 2 losses came at the hands of the Broncos and the Bears. 10 straight wins, 3 different QBs, number 1 in power rankings, And here we go. Time to spin the mother-licking curse wheel to see who gets the curse in the first round of the playoffs. Whose destiny hangs in the hands of this $13 piece of shit I bought off of Amazon? Who will get the wrath? 7. Ain't so lucky this week, is it? Who'd I put at 7? Oh no, I'm sorry, New York Giants. Oh no, Kevin O'Connell's gonna assert his dominance. Justin Jefferson's gonna have 200 yards. Confirmed. Thanks for watching the That's Good Sports Power Rankings episode. Very accurate. Most accurate power rankings according to pretty much fucking everyone. So if you disagree, just shut up. Shut your little lips. Oh yeah, subscribe.